Welcome to the Charge Latino, a seat at the table.
Today we'll cover stories about politics, culture, and community.
And with President Trump's new executive orders, it's important to talk about their impact on some of our UCF students.
Also, a UCF student works towards the salvation of salamanders.
And a bookstore near campus piques curiosity for romance lovers.
The Charge Latino, a seat at the table, starts now.
Welcome to the Charge Latino, a seat at the table. I'm Macchiarola.
And I'm Dawson Therre.
A UCF student is suing the Department of Homeland Security to try and protect her legal status. The DHS appealed this. More on this from Charge Latino reporter Sara Quinby.
Days before temporary protected status for Venezuelans was set to expire, a federal judge ruled on March 31st to halt the deportations of hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans after a group of TPS holders, including a UCF student, challenged the decision in court. Cecilia Gonzalez Herrera, a senior political science student, says this news brought relief, but the fight is not over yet.
Well, we just received the intention to appeal from the government, which we expected it. So this is part of what I have been saying from the very beginning, that this is going to be a very long legal battle. And this was a victory, but just a tiny one in a long journey.
The Department of Homeland Security's Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs, Tricia McLaughlin, also says in an emailed response that their fight isn't over either. Secretary Noem will continue fighting to return integrity to the TPS system, which has been abused and exploited by illegal aliens for decades. We return TPS to its original status, temporary. As this legal battle continues, Dr. Aubrey Jewett, professor in the School of Politics, Security, and International Affairs, says this could take many months.
Shortest time frame, maybe in a few weeks, we might see some differences or changes or action on this. On the other hand, it might be many months given the regular pace of cases through the federal court system. I mean, the wheels of justice sometimes drag along pretty slowly.
In the meantime, Gonzalez Herrera keeps moving forward with the goal of proving to the administration that she and fellow Venezuelans are deserving members of the community.
Our intention is to utilize every court level possible until we get a permanent, secure solution for Venezuelans. And not only for Venezuelans, but to the other 16 countries with TPS. So we will continue fighting at the level, at the court level, and at doing the legal battle, but we will also continue living our life and proving to the American people and to the Trump administration that Venezuelans, we're honest people that just are, the only we're asking is to be able to live here with dignity.
In Orlando, Sara Quinby, the Charge Latino.
It's now again up to the courts to determine the future of Venezuelans' TPS status.
Cecilia says that the majority of Venezuelans are good people and are valuable members of the community.
Dawson, have you heard that the U.S. is trying to deport members that they believe are a part of the Tren de Aragua gang? You know, some people are actually pretty worried about this because they believe that the people being deported aren't actually part of the gang at all.
Yeah, I have heard about that, and I can see how it's a pretty big concern, especially with the increase in stricter immigration policies.
Exactly.
President Trump's recent political moves in Cuba are hitting close to home. With many Cuban Americans living here in Central Florida, the Charge Latino's Macchiarola tells us more about this story.
President Trump is reinstating tough sanctions on Cuba, leaving many Cuban Americans in limbo. Today we're going to be taking a closer look at how the policy shift impacts lives here in Central Florida. The Biden-era efforts to ease restrictions on Cuba are over. President Trump has reversed more than 78 executive actions, keeping Cuba on the state sponsors of terrorism list and ending the CHNV parole program, which had allowed Cubans to enter the U.S. with a sponsor. Now, many are left in uncertainty. For Cecilia Rodriguez Milanes, a UCF professor, the shift is personal. Two of her cousins made it through CHNV before it was frozen. Others won't be as lucky.
It's just that it's wrong-headed. All of it is wrong-headed and cruel. Not just wrong-headed, it's cruel. And Marco Rubio should remember what his family went through, right?
Nicole Baez Espinosa, a UCF sophomore, immigrated from Cuba at 11. Her grandparents came through CHNV, but now she feels the weight of the door closing behind them.
It's going to be definitely hard for like the families that are living here, who have family over there, and who can't do anything to bring them or give them a better life. It's definitely frustrating.
But not everyone opposes the shift. Sebastian Arcos, interim director of FIU's Cuban Research Institute, says the pressure is necessary.
The current regime in Cuba has no interest in becoming an ally with the United States. And that is the reason why most Cubans supported President Trump when he campaigned last year.
With legal pathways shrinking, many Cuban Americans worry about their families still on the island. Rodriguez Milanés fears for all immigrants, urging them to stay informed.
I think it's more of the same crap because every single president says they're going to do something about it, and absolutely nothing has changed.
For the Charge Latino, I'm Macchiarola.
With the new policies now in effect, some Cuban Americans in Central Florida can only wait and see how this policy affects their community.
The Florida Hispanic Serving Institutions Consortium is uniting 16 different colleges and universities to try and expand educational opportunities for Hispanic students in Florida. The initiative aims to boost social mobility and economic prosperity through collaboration and support. The consortium will focus on workforce development and community partnerships for a brighter future. Magna J. Castanera, Dean of the Honors College at Miami-Dade College, is one of the co-founders leading this important effort.
Each of the committee has a number of people that meets, on a monthly basis. And then once we have our meetings, our quarterly meetings of everyone, reports back for feedback.
Dr. Cyndia Morales Muniz, Senior Director of the Florida HSI Consortium and UCF faculty member, leads the initiative. The consortium will meet in person for the first time at the Florida HSI Summit in September. Morales says the goal is to boost collaboration, enhance resources, and develop opportunities for students.
For many undocumented students, in-state tuition is the only way college is possible, but that could soon change under a recently passed bill. The Charge Latino, Courtney McLain, tells us more about this.
While the 2025 Florida legislative session is currently ongoing and has included the presentation of many new bills, one bill that has the potential to bring change to the lives of many in the state is Senate Bill 2C, Immigration. This legislation was introduced by Republican Senator Joe Gruters and co-introduced by former Republican Representative Randy Fine. The bill was approved by the governor on February 13th and is planned to go into effect on July 1st of this year. It is currently unclear as to exactly how this bill will affect the number of college students in Florida and the amount of money that schools receive. However, those on both sides have thoughts. Florida Democratic Representative Dr. Anna Escamani of Orlando believes that universities will lose money due to the bill.
For the students who qualify for in-state tuition, they're still paying for tuition, and they qualify for in-state because they live in-state. And it's important to remember that if these students did not have in-state tuition, they would not even be able to go to a Florida university or college. So we actually lose money when we say no to these students because that tuition that they were paying out of pocket never comes to us because they can't afford to go.
I'm here at the Florida State Capitol, where lawmakers have recently passed a bill that will eliminate in-state tuition for undocumented students within the state of Florida and will strengthen immigration enforcement throughout the state. I spoke to lawmakers on both sides about why they voted the way that they did on this bill and what this means for the future of the state of Florida. Former Florida Republican Representative Dr. Joel Rudman of Navarre says that this change in law is simply adding another rule that, like all others, every Floridian is expected to abide by.
These aren't rules and regulations that we are applying in a discriminatory fashion against certain people. These are rules that we all have to play by. And so all we're asking is that people who are here illegally, they must play by the same rules that everyone else is playing by.
While different studies are showing differing potential outcomes after the start of the law, the American Immigration Council reports that there are more than 408,000 undocumented students enrolled in U.S. colleges and universities. This number makes up 1.9% of all college students in the country. In Tallahassee, Courtney McLain, The Charge Latino.
To find out more information about this bill, check out flsenate.gov.
Lucy Blanco was elected student body president after defeating opponent John Grouse in a recent runoff election. Today we'll be diving into what makes Lucy Blanco inspired as a Cuban American and more about her as a person. Originally from Naples, Florida, Blanco got involved with student government in her first year at UCF. She got her start in the Student Government Leadership Council and has not looked back since. Blanco says she thanks Daniela Lopez, UCF alumna, for paving the way for her to run for this election. Lopez, a Cuban American like Blanco, also served as a student body president when she attended UCF.
I'm doing what I'm doing for the students. Like, I've gained everything I have from this community, every single thing. And I think there's such power in that, and I'm so excited to take everything that I've learned and give it back to the next generation of UCF Knights.
One of the initiatives that Lucy will be working on alongside Harib is their 50 Organizations in 50 Days, in which they will be meeting with several cultural-based RSOs on campus, with the purpose of diversifying and enhancing the student experience. UCF researchers are studying how bilingualism and personality traits affect how we process information. The Charge Latino reporter Melenny Gallardo spoke with 2 of the 7 researchers.
A group of students and faculty members is testing participants with visual semantic processing tasks, where they determine if sentences are correct or incorrect. They're looking at how people manage cognitive load as task difficulty increases. Researchers are exploring the connection between bilingualism, personality traits, and cognitive performance. Valentina Escura, an undergraduate psychology student at UCF, explains how the task setup works.
So essentially what we do in this study is we're going to give the participant like a sentence, and from there they have to, have like a grammatical error or syntax error, some kind of error in it.
This study uses LeapQ to measure bilingual proficiency and the mini IP to assess personality traits like openness and eroticism.
Soraya Haney, a UCF biomedical science alumna, explains why they use the mini IP tool to measure personality traits in their participants.
We decided to use neuroticism and openness because openness kind of relates to openness to being involved in the experience. So whether they were likely to completely divulge themselves into our experiment.
Looking ahead, the researchers aim to expand the study with more languages and ethnicities. In Orlando, Melenny Gallardo, The Charge Latino.
Researchers hope to have more participants in the fall and have results by 2026 for the Student Scholar Symposium.
A club at UCF is being impacted by President Trump's recent DEI orders. I spoke with Brendan Rollo about this development. The Association of Latino Professionals for America provides students with growth in and out of the workplace, and though U.S. District Judge Adam Abelson has temporarily blocked President Trump's orders regarding DEI policies, Alpha is still closely monitoring developments. Brendan Rollo, Vice President of Membership at Alpha and Junior Marketing Major, speaks on how these developments are affecting their organization.
Alpha in the past has received funding from DEI for our convention and for our lucrative events. Part of that budget goes to SGA, and we would eat part of that DEI budget. But because Trump is removing that DEI funding, Alpha loses a bit of its funding, so now we have to pay from out of our own pocket.
While Alpha's projected goal is to monitor DEI developments in Orlando and Central Florida, for now they're focused on a more immediate goal, the members' futures. Coming up, a story on salamanders.
Salamanders?
Yeah, Claire, there's a disease putting these critters at risk, and we're going to hear all about it.
Calling all romance lovers, a new bookstore in Winter Park is about to steal your hearts. New details coming up next.
As we've seen, culture can present itself in many different ways. For one UCF student, it was his culture that sparked his curiosity for science, the same curiosity that he is using to study the disease ecology of 2 overlooked salamander species. The Charge Latino reporter, Bryanna Valderrama, takes us on a trip to the UCF Arboretum wetlands to learn more about this research.
Originally from Lima, Peru, Renato Guzman, a junior majoring in environmental studies, shares that his family and Peruvian culture shaped his love and curiosity for the animals that inhabit the natural world. This curiosity is what led him to research 2 deadly diseases in an overlooked species found in the UCF Arboretum's wetlands.
Amphibians are the worst affected vertebrate group from not only climate change, but habitat alteration, anthropogenic change all around, and fragmentation. And this is the primary example of why amphibian populations are decreasing so fast.
I'm here at the UCF Arboretum, where Renato Guzman just finished setting salamander traps to test pathogens. He credits all the work he's learned to Dr. Matthew Atkinson.
Dr. Atkinson, who's seen as a mentor by Renato, talks about working with him on this research.
Renato was fantastic without me and could have done this all on his own.
But ultimately, sometimes you need that guidance, you need that kind of push to take you to that next step. And I think that's something that UCF does a pretty good job of connecting, faculty with students and actually getting them to get out there and do the research in the real world.
While progress has been made with Renato's research, his work is still not done. In terms of conservation efforts, he emphasizes its importance and why we should care.
Conservation is much more important than people generally think. And it usually gets a good rap, but it should get a better one. Because stuff is happening in front of our eyes. We're losing species at an alarming rate. It's scary to think about what will happen in the next 100 years, especially if research is beginning to be stalled or starting to get cut in terms of funding. This stuff is really important. It's about as important as it gets. So people need to pay more attention.
In Orlando, Bryanna Valderrama, the Charge Latino.
While his research is still ongoing, conservation efforts like Renato's are helping to preserve the state of the natural world and ensure that culture will carry on.
Orlando's only romance bookstore has recently opened up its doors in Winter Park, offering a space for book lovers to find community. New Romantics is right in the hub of Winter Park's local businesses. From local author meet and greets to 2025 vision board workshops, the new bookstore has opportunities for community events focusing on the Latino community, women, and overall inclusion. Rodriguez aims for its location to allow UCF students to have everything they need to escape the fast-paced semester and recharge to prosper.
I just want this to be a space where people can come and, like I said, meet people, meet friends. I know how lonely and isolating it can be at times. So if you ever just kind of need to get away from the stress of college, I definitely remember how stressful college was. I think that this is a really great space to do that.
Rodriguez's outreach through Instagram highlights local businesses that have prompted a new initiative under New Romantics called For the Dreamers Market.
Claire, do you like jazz?
No, not really.
Oh, well, maybe you'll change your mind once you hear the sweet, sweet sound of jazz from the mayor's 13th annual Jazz in the Park event.
Stay tuned.
Jazz music has a long and varied history in the world and America. The Charge Latino reporter, Fabio Braggion, shows us how UCF implants it in Orlando.
I got a fever.
This is where it's kind of an area of debate.
And the only prescription is
What we lump under the Latin jazz category
more cowbell.
is a whole bunch of things. The Afro-Cuban, the Brazilian styles. Then there's also Puerto Rico. There's various Caribbean islands.
More cowbell.
If it's got the rhythms and these specific rhythms that you'll hear in Cuban and Brazilian and these dance styles that are a part of Latin America, if it's got those rhythms, we lump all of that under the category of Latin jazz.
Well, it's jazz, but we'll later rice and beans. That's it.
We do this every year. I get the information from you guys. What I like, you might not like, vice versa. So I'm learning as we go. So we keep improving each year, making the steps forward. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. As long as we're moving forward, I'm good with that.
Yeah, so we are so proud to be a partner with the City of Orlando and the Mayor's Jazz Day in the Park.
Are we good?
We've done it for since before 2020, so at least 5 years.
Are we good?
And really, it's a promotional partnership. We want to spread the good news about jazz.
Orange County, Hawks and Recreation, all we good.
UCF will continue to bring jazz to the people of Orlando. If you're ever in town and hear the sweet jazz, make sure to take a seat.
Thanks for watching.
This was the Charge Latino, a seat at the table.
I'm Claire Macchiarola.
And I'm Dawson Therre.
Bye.